All right, so I want to talk about some of the tools that are available for testing your responsiveness on your website. And in Chrome, there are a bunch of tools that you can add as apps, and you can go and add their extensions or apps that you can get through their store. It's under the Tools Extensions Manager. Or the Chrome Web Store right here. This lets you have all these apps here. And the few that I have tried, there's one called Responsey. So if I run that, this is a website or a plug-in tool that lets me test anything. So I can put up, what was it? Let's put up Kyle's. All right, and so it brings that, it goes out and gets his website, puts it into a frame here that then is responsive, and I can move the little frame around. But it also has some of the standard features here. So I can go to a 320 by 480, and I can rotate it, which would be the same thing as somebody rotating their iPhone, and see exactly what it looks like. So you can see my little images down here almost unusable at this point.
What is that called?
Response.si. Right, but it lets you see exactly what it is. We can go and choose like a 980 by 1280 and see exactly what that looks like. We can go to this is like an iPad here, and we can rotate the iPad. So it looks pretty good on an iPad. So that's not a bad little site. And you can bookmark it. You can drag the bookmark up here so that you can always go to the site and play with it. See if it. So if I'm on somebody else's site, go to Responsey, and it brings down the site that I was on as part of the tool. So as you're looking at your site, if I'm looking at Kyle Bryan's site, and I'm looking at it, I can just click on the Responsey button, and it brings his site into this system that I can play with. Isn't that cool? Not a bad little tool, and of course I can resize it myself as well. So that's one. There's a bunch of these, and I wanted to show you a place called SpringPad, which I've been using to collect things as I go around. It's a free site that lets you create these notebooks of web content. And you can do a lot more with it than that, but I'm just using it as kind of a clipping site. So I have an account here, and you can follow my notebooks on the things that I'm looking for. So if I want to look at all the notebooks I've created, I have an iOS notebook, I have a Ruby programming, HTML5, mobile. I've got 32 different websites that I've found on mobile stuff, SEO, PHP. So as I'm looking for stuff, I SpringPad it, I bookmark it into these bookmarks. So this is my mobile bookmark, and it's got tons of little things about grid systems, this titanium system that we're going to use, responsive.is, which is another website I wanted to show you. Very similar to the same thing. I can put in, dadgummit, why don't I copy? It's tired of typing green with belief here. You're going to get lots of hits now on your site. So this one does the same kind of a thing. I can choose a desktop mode, which is pretty big. I can shrink it down to a tablet landscape, a tablet portrait. It pops out our nice little thingies here. I go down to a phone, and it shrinks it down, or a vertical portrait phone. So another one. There are tons of these kinds of things out there. And I've got this one I think is also kind of cool that I found. think this is the right one. So as you're creating mock-ups for your customers, you can say, well, I need some images from you to play with. And so this says, I want an image that's about like this, and it will generate an image for me, a random image, and give me the URL that I can then access. So if I want an image that's exactly this size, it will create that for me. Say I want one a little wider and narrower, maybe for my header. It'll generate another image for me, random image that I can utilize for my mock-up. And
that's all okay with copy?
Yes, those are all okay to copy, right. They're more or less open source images. That's called placeimage.com, placeimg.com.
Were those all public domain type pictures?
Yes. Yeah, it talks about the license. It's a Creative Commons attribution license. So we can say I want to look at only tech stuff,
In Sophia.
and then I get techie type images, which is weird. I have an Android phone on top of a Mac. That's just weird. But, it's crushing the Mac.
It's a battle to the death.
Yeah, so here's a bigger one. Nice. Got an iPhone.
They needed something more powerful than the Mac.
Yeah. Right. Not. So, and then this is the URL that I can use. I can place that URL right in my code, and whenever I go to that site, it gives me exactly that size of an image, but every time I load the page, I get a different image. That's the same URL, but it gives me a random image in there, which is, might be useful if you want, or you can just download the image at that size and include it in your mock-up.
It seems like they focus on some relevant thing as well.
Yeah. So these are specifically tech. I think I could probably change this to architecture,
Well, like,
and it will give me an architecture one instead.
it's not just going to show the person's silhouette.
Right. It's not just, part of a window or something like that. I don't know why that's architecture.
Golf courses are architecture.
I guess, okay.
Most golf courses are created by architects. Golf clubs take a lot of science.
That's taken a long time. Let's another one, animals. Let's do animals. So I can use these URLs. I could even probably write a Ruby gem that would pull these out for you, right? Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah. And every time you loaded your thing, it would be different, right? Yeah, right. Exactly right. I broke it. It's broken now. I don't know why. So that's another one. That's pretty cool. I thought so. If you can actually come in and sign up for a SpringPad account and follow my activity, kind of like Twitter, and you'll get all of the links that I find for this type of stuff. I've had a few follow me that I have no idea who they are. So yeah, probably a lot of So a lot of things on responsive jQuery. I'm listing all those kind of things that I find. There's some tutorials on media queries and things. The Twitter Bootstrap that we're playing with. Some different frameworks that are available, like this 960 grid. So those are some cool things. Also built into Chrome, we have the ability, this WebDev toolbar, which is an extension that you can add to Chrome, has a whole resize system, and I can resize it to different dimensions. I can say I want a specific dimension and let it resize my window. I can do a specific 1024 by 768. And to do that, I do that under the options, and I can change the resize dimensions. I can add a bunch of these, like I want a 3 360 by, let's see, 360 by 480. That's what I'll call it. It's going to be 360 by 480, and I'll add that. And so now that's one of my dimensions now that I have in my menu. Let's add another one that's like 768 by 1024. 768 by 1024. Add that, and now I've got 3, and I can move these around however I want. And then when I go to my tools, well, I can't do it on this page. Let's go back to this one, and I can resize this page on any of these that I just added. So if I want to see it in 360, then it instantly goes down to that size, a fixed width that I can test. The other nice thing is once I have a few of those set up, I can use this view responsive layouts. And it will actually go out and try to find and recreate your website in all of these different views. So if I look at the top, it gives me the mobile. This is what it looked like in the mobile site. Very weird. Very weird. This is the mobile landscape site. Yeah, it's just a little frame, but I get to see them all at once, all on the same page, which is kind of cool. Kind of handy stuff.
It would be really nice if you could drag and drop pictures.
Yeah.
Instead of it wasn't just like this giant stacked up thing.
Yeah.
Mobile landscape right next to the portrait.
You can hide them. Yeah, that's all you can do.
Yeah, put them next to each other so you got a little.
You can't. I can't really drag them though.
How do you refresh white space on the right hand side?
You have to go. Well, the only way I've done it is I go to a website and I click View Responsive. And so now I have a responsive site inside of a responsive site. How responsive is their responsive site? So that's pretty useful. This Web Dev toolbar is very similar to the one in Firefox that has the same kind of options. It also lets you have options for the various tools that we have for the validation. So this is one thing that I changed in the validate CSS. I don't want to validate 2.1 or CSS 2.1. I want to validate CSS 3. So I'm going to change this property, which is being sent to the jigsaww3.org validator. And now when I validate using this tool, it's going to let's go to Kyle's site again. See if he validates. We'll embarrass him here.
I forgot the dot one.
So now when I go using my tool and validate CSS, it's going to validate in CSS 3 instead of CSS 2.1. It's not working.
That's because you're probably validating.
It's still not running. Why is it not running?
Validate local CSS.
Really? So his is perfect here. Of course, got only 3,000 errors. So
Have one main recipe. Hyphenate is not a word break value.
hyphenate is not a word break value. Hyphenate? Is hyphenate spelled right? I don't know. So I don't know why. That's interesting. I do a lot of stuff with the web dev stuff when I do that in Firefox instead because it works better. But that's interesting. So yeah, if we did, yeah, it's interesting. So that's useful to a point. I like the resize, automatically resize to all the dimensions. Or we can just resize it and pick a size. Or we can just do this, right? Obviously, we can do that. But that lets me check exactly. It's hard for me to get, is this 760? I don't it's about 760. It's really hard to fit that. So it's easier if you use those tools. And there's another one called
What's that tool on the bottom right that tells you the dimensions of the window?
Yeah.
it's called I believe it's called this Resized Window. This is another extension that I found that does the same thing. I can just select it and it will pop up there. Let's go look at my extensions. I don't remember which one that was called. So I have a bunch of these. Ripple, we'll look at that one in a second. I think it's this one, this Windows Resizer. It shows that when you resize the image, it shows you the viewport size versus the window size. Does everybody understand the difference of those? The window size includes all of the Chrome stuff around it, the garbage, and the viewport size is what you can actually see, the content, the body size of your page. All right, so that's an extension. The other one is called Ripple. So let's go to his Principato. And this one is called Ripple. It's another extension that you can install. And you enable it for each site. You don't want to leave it enabled because it takes a bit of work. And we want to go to, you can choose a bunch of different things. Typically, I choose the mobile web. And this tries to emulate a tablet or a mobile device on your browser. And so this is pretty cool. I can change the device resolution. I can pick a BlackBerry or an iPad 3. There's an iPad 3, and it's nice and big. I can rotate it on the screen, and it rotates on the screen. The other nice thing, though, it can emulate other information. Like it tells you all kinds of information about what this looks like, of course. But I can also emulate the accelerometer of the site. And this one I haven't quite figured out how to get this to work, but I can shake it. And some that can emulate some things in your web page. You can detect if things are being shaken. And you can, in some pages, as we'll get to in the titanium, we can actually access the accelerometer. And our page can respond to that through some JavaScript interfaces to the phone, and that's going to be the fun stuff. So we can also emulate the location of where we are. We can fool this little phone into thinking it's somewhere else, right? I can set the location of my device, and it can update, So right now it's pointing you to someplace in Waterloo here. Yeah, so that's, what did I do? I shrank my whole thing. So that location, there are some web JavaScript queries that you can ask the user to get their location. Have you ever been to a site and they say, can I use your location? And then that is an API, a way to get that geolocation information into your website, and you can pass it to your server, and your server can generate context-sensitive or place-aware information back to you. I'm right next to a Best Buy, so I'm going to serve you a Best Buy ad, things like that. So all of that is tied into this Ripple. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. All right, so those are some of the tools. There's, at least 1,000 more that I haven't played with myself that you can get at, and a lot in the Chrome Web Store. If you just look here under the, let's see, under extensions, developer tools, these are some of the things: resolution test, screen captures, all kinds of stuff that you can get. Yeah. SEO stuff, why slow, check your page speed, things like that. The page speed in your Chrome Code School stuff, they talk about the page speed. Have you guys gotten to that yet? Yeah. So.
They have you install it, but they never have you actually.
Yeah, they just do that so they can run their code, but then you guys can get used to using it yourself.
Yeah, it's blue right faster.
Well, I thought they were going to have me do something with it.
Yeah, they didn't do anything with it.
Stop the lecture, download it. Well, it says to continue, you have to. And
Yeah, I know.
No, that's a different thing.
So there's tons of these things. No way I can go through all of these. So, all right, any questions on any of this stuff? Lots of places, lots of ways to test your responsiveness, but nothing compares to actually testing it on a device. So we're going to try to, I have a bunch of devices that you guys can actually test your website on. And so we'll probably do that maybe Monday next week. We'll fish out a bunch of those and you can test your stuff on the web, on a actual device.